So today I got DM here with me. We're going to be talking about the Blood Knight. Both he and I both put out videos yesterday giving you everything that we know about the Blood Knight. And he had mentioned in his video, if you didn't already watch it, which you should, that he traveled out to Blizzard and got to test this out. Funny story is I was supposed to be there too, but unfortunately my flights were all canceled and I could not make the trip. I cried a little bit. It was pretty awful. DM, I was sad I wasn't able to be there with you, but I figured I'd bring you on here today so I could pick your brain about what it actually felt
I got a bone to pick with you, man. You're part of the reason I was going to that whole thing, and I was already in the airport on the way, and then you can't make it. I'm like, man, like standing me up on our date, Echo. What are we doing here?
That is true. I was in the airport for 11 hours, just getting rebooked on flights, waiting in lines, trying everything I could to be there with you. But it couldn't happen. Believe me, it felt
We're here
bad.
in the video, I guess.
Yeah,
make it happen.
It's not the same. Next time we'll meet up. But I wanted to know how you felt because I got all of the information because I was part of that group that was supposed to go on this trip. I was lucky enough to be able to get all the information. I know everything about the Blood Knight, but there's a difference between playing it and watching and reading about it, right? So I wanted to kind of ask you a couple of questions in this video, just essentially what it felt like. Now, I did watch your video actually just before recording this one, so I have a general idea of your feelings about the class, but not everyone that is on this channel has seen your video. I will link that video specifically in the description of this one for those of you that want to go take a look. But first of all, what was your overall experience? It was your first time at Blizzard. I went back in 2019 to a BlizzCon to play Diablo Immortal, but I haven't been back since then. What was your initial impression of Blizzard itself, the people, and the place?
I mean, that's a very generic question. So I'm trying to think about how to answer the whole thing because I feel differently about different parts of that question, if that makes sense. Like the trip itself, I don't like traveling, but I love California, you know, from like a weather perspective. So like once I was there, I was having a good time. Hate being on the plane, but I loved being there. Now, from the Blizzard perspective of like what the campus was like, dude, this campus is phenomenal. I felt like it was like Apple or Google or something. They had everything there. Like they had like there was a place you could rollerblade. Like it has everything you could possibly imagine on this campus. Where they had fencing, you know, and, like at campus. So it's so many statues that I lost count of them. And they had their own museum with all of the games and all of the everything through the history of Blizzard in there. It's just crazy amount of stuff that's. So that was cool. The people were surprisingly human. Like I was really scared going there, man. I was thinking like, you know, I mean, I've had some hot takes. I've said my opinion about the game. I've, you know, trashed on some updates like we all have. And, you know, it scared me a little bit to show up to the lion's den, as I would call it. So I was a little nervous, but, dude, everyone was like super nice. I mean, obviously they're going to be nice. You're a content creator showing up, but like, you know, I believed it. At least the people seemed, you know, legitimately curious in our opinion, as well as, you know, I feel like we were there for a reason. Like it's there. Let's get your opinion on Blood Knight. And then I kind of expected it to be like, okay, you're here to get footage, promo it, get you out the door. But really, it was like they legitimately wanted feedback. Like I could tell they actually wanted our opinion on it, which for me it was like, okay, cool. It's not just like a promotional trip. Like they actually want to know what we think about what they're developing. So I liked that. Overall, it was pretty positive. It was way more positive than I thought it was going to be. And I felt way less nervous once I was there. And then, you know, some of the people that we talked to, like in the, you know, the partner program and all that, like they're just fun people. Like they're legitimately just fun people, like outside of the work of side of it too. So, you know, I had a good time, Echo. I did. I really wish you were there, buddy. You would have had a good time too.
I wish I was there also. And that's something, it's, you know, when we're looking at the game, whether it be the community looking at a game or us as content creators playing the heck out of these games and making content on it, it's very easy to be critical of things about the game. And, you know, when, like you mentioned, when you think about it, there's someone that's actually behind the idea and creating that stuff. So I understand you're feeling nervous about meeting these people that maybe you haven't agreed with some of the things they've done. But as you mentioned, you know, people are people, and most people are just pretty down to earth and nice dudes. And I think that they have a really great crew over there from the ones that I've met. Now, in the past, I guess it was probably 3 years ago at this point, it's probably a whole different crew of people that you were hanging out with than who I were hanging out with. But my experience back then was also really good. All right, so enough about the experience in Blizzard. Let's talk about the Blood Knight itself. Okay. Not yet talking about the feel of it. That's what I want to save until a little bit later in the video. What do you think of the class overall? I mean, it's the first class that they bring to the game in 10 years. And I think it's actually crazy because you have Diablo 4, which congratulations. I see your YouTube plaque there up on the wall. You've been waiting for years
We
for
did
that
it.
thing. Look at you. Congratulations. This man starts a new YouTube channel a month later, has a 100,000 subscriber plaque on that YouTube channel after 6 years of grinding other channels on YouTube. But yeah, I'm really proud of you about that as well. Oh man, I lost track of what I was saying. What was I
We're
even
talking
gonna
about the
say?
Blood Knight, brother. I'll bring it on home for you, all right?
Thank
You want
you.
to know my initial impression
Yeah,
and what
of
I
the
think about the
class.
Blood Knight,
Yeah.
basically, of the class. So I'll put it this way. I think it's a smart addition in terms of theme. So I think that I know it's kind of weird that it's like a blood class, like it's literally a blood class and you can't blood in China. So I'm sure it's Shadow Knight over there and they have to redo all the art or something. But in terms of like obviously US releases, what we're talking about, the Blood Knight fits really well into the universe. Like for me, it just fits pretty. It's like Castlevania type of style was really the vibe I was getting, and I liked it. I bought it. You know, it didn't make me think like, this is out of place. Like I played Diablo 3 and there's some cosmetics and stuff in that game where it's just like I was like, man, this really throws me out of it. But like Blood Knight, yeah, it's like it's believable within the universe. So thematically wise, I thought, okay, that makes sense. In terms of like skills and stuff, those were basically before we get into the balance side of things, which I'm sure you're going to ask about. We'll talk about just what the skills felt like. They felt like whoever designed the skills designed it in a way where it correctly identified itself with the class. It wasn't like in some of these classes where it's like, okay, I have a barbarian, but then I'm just randomly leaving like fire behind me when I walk around. Like it doesn't really make sense. Like some of the stuff when you actually sit and think about it, it's like, okay, what are we actually doing here? Like, what is this, a caster? What? The Blood Knight really stayed in that. I mean, everything's blood related. He's got a spear and he's got blood, and that's what the fuck the Blood Knight is. Like, it's pretty much they stayed in that genre. And so, I like that. I'm a simple man, so I like that they stayed true to that. Now, if you want to know more about like what I felt like to play, we can get into the gameplay side of things. But you said you wanted a more Jimro overarching.
Yeah,
Sort of.
I wanted to start with the class itself because being that it's been 10 years since a new class has been implemented, it's got to be hard to like think of a new class that doesn't overlap other things that have been, created already. I also think it was really cool that the newest class that's coming to the game in 10 years came into Diablo Immortal and not into the biggest thing,
Surprising.
Diablo 4, right? I thought so. I'm wondering if there's going to be some carryover. I mean, I'm sure the class will move itself onto other Diablo games, Diablo 4 over time. That's how I got off track, by the way, with your plaque and all that stuff. I thought Diablo 4.
Okay, the Diablo 4.
That was my mindset. All right, so let's talk about the Blood Knight. Now, when you think about a new class, you can't create a new class and have it suck. It has to be really good. We see this happen in a lot of other games. We see it happen in like Clash Royale and all these other games as well. That a new class comes out. They typically come out OP, better than the rest, so that everyone is going to play it and enjoy it and kind of invest themselves into that new class. They don't want to make it and have it so nerfed that no one wants to even play the class. So did you get the feeling that it's, and I guess we have PvE and PvP ways of looking at this, but do you think it's completely, a hierarchy of classes and at the complete top of that compared to the others? And obviously things can be changed since you're testing and all that based on your feedback. But did you feel that it was just so much better than even the strongest class right now?
So it's really hard to say because I didn't get a sense of the damage modifiers. When we were there, what I did got a sense of what the skills do. But I don't think any of us during that time got a good sense of like what it's going to be like at maximum because we had no set gear. We were like set at level 80 Paragon. We had access to like one legendary gem, the new one or whatever. So like there isn't really, we didn't have a fully unlocked character. We had fully unlocked essences, but we had the class. We didn't have the rest of it that goes with the class. So I don't know how he's going to stand up in terms of damage output and everything. What I can tell you is that the kit is loaded with a ton of CC. Now I know there's logic behind it, and we can go into that. But basically, the one part there's two primary concerns I had. One was more thematically themed. One was more mechanically themed. Which is from a logistics standpoint, this class probably has the most CC out of any class I've seen in the game. Now, depending upon how you feel about CC, that's a good or a bad thing. If you really like CC, and specifically I'm probably talking about PvP here because we're not really stun locking bosses, are we? So when we're talking about PvP, that's where the CC comes into play. And something no one likes having is being CC'd the whole time. Right. Okay? So obviously that's going to be in the conversation. I know the community will react to that when they hear that and stuff, and I know how people are going to feel about that. The other side of it, and the argument that I think they were trying to make, or at least I'm assuming the guess of it is that if you don't have CC, then what are you going to do against somebody who's stronger than you? Like, isn't there? Don't you need a way of dealing with the people that are kind of overpowering the battlefield? Isn't it better for people like me who have 3,000 resonance as opposed to 10,000 resonance that we can stun lock people? Like, isn't that part of it? And I think to myself, yeah, actually, that's kind of a decent point because I play like ZDPS Necromancer in PvP, and that's where I feel the most. I feel the most useful, either Conjuration of Light as a Crusader or doing constant CC spam so that other people can go kill them. I never really felt useful dealing a lot of damage. So I see it from both perspectives. I do think people are going to say there's a lot of CC in this kit, and I do think people are going to be right. But they also seemed very open to that feedback. Like, there was at no point that, which is why I'm not raging about it, because there was no point when it was like any of us gave feedback of like, hey, this seems like this could be a problem or whatever, that anyone was like, well, this is what, like, everyone just was like, okay, that's a good point, and then like writes it down. Like, they're not ignoring us. They're literally listening, and I can see them like, yeah, you're like, okay, let's make sure, like, I can see them actively like in the process of trying to make the class correct. And so, I give a little bit of wiggle room to that.
Okay, and another point, going a tiny bit off topic, we've seen that characteristic of Blizzard employees since the game is launched, right? They've always seemed pretty open to community feedback, our feedback, and we've seen changes come to the game in many different ways over time. So I think that's true. I think they do, it's not a perfect game. It's never going to be a perfect game, but I think that they strive to make it better, and I think that they do care. With that being said, the people that you met, did you get the feeling that they had like true passion for what they were doing? Like, were they in love with this when they were talking to you about it?
So that was kind of the part that surprised me. There's the guys who are obviously like managing the situation, like explaining what's going on to us, taking the feedback, and they're going to dissect that and send it to the proper people. And then there was the guys who are like very obviously the developers, like the coders. I'm not going to call any of them out by name because I think it'd be inappropriate. But what I will say is that there was a couple people who might listen to this to know, who they were, that when I talk to them, it's like, this guy right here absolutely gives a fuck. Like, he's listening to what is admittedly hard feedback, and he's really trying to, like, he's just obviously a programmer, like just someone who like develops the stuff. And there was several of those people that I met where it's like, these people actually care about what they're creating. This isn't a 9 to 5. I mean, it's a 9 to 5, but it's not like you check into a retail store, you're like, fuck all these customers, I can't wait to get up. It's like, these guys obviously went to college, got a degree around playing computer games. They seem like, all the people I met seem like World of Warcraft hardcore players and stuff back in the day. These are gamers that love games, so they got a job in games, and they're trying to make the best game they can. Maybe they got stuck into Immortal, which had horrible press PR, and now they're stuck in one of the only games that's considered like a pay-to-win Blizzard game, admittedly, and they're trying their best. But I didn't get the vibe that any of these guys were like these demons. Like, they're guys trying to make a game,
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went for that alone, because I've made, I won't say like mistakes, but I've definitely been pretty hard in the past. Not in Immortal. I feel like I was pretty balanced always in Immortal. I tried to have balanced takes, and I matured a bit in this. But in previous games, like Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, Raid, etc., like, I've been very vocal and very harsh on the developer side of things. And then, you realize a lot of the times when there's like problems, like, it's not actually the developers that are the ones creating the problems. It's whatever the executives are, the people that are pushing some, agenda or something that is really the problem. And the devs are like dudes just sitting there making the game, like trying to make the best game they can. So I'm kind of glad I went for that too, just for my own like professionalism, maturity side of things as well.
No, that's great to hear. And I mean, obviously, maybe, as you mentioned, maybe they didn't want to build mobile games, or maybe they did. Who knows? I don't know what their plans were. But no matter what it is, they're trying to make the best project that they can, whether it be on mobile or PC or whatever project they're on. So super cool to hear that they were really into it. And I kind of assumed that was your answer from knowing just how the people are over there that I've met, and from having talked to a lot of these people as well. It seems that they're really passionate about what they're doing and building. I guess before I get to just your general conclusion of everything, you mentioned that you were playing the brand new gem. And was there anything that you were able to feel or get out of that brand new gem? It's a 5-star
Yeah.
gem. Is it something that is going to be
Look,
anything crazy?
all the positive stuff I said about meeting the people and people are human and all that. Look, you can take that, but then look, the reality is the feedback of is it's power creep. Like the gym is probably too strong. It's like very obviously a PvP gym. Um, there's a lot of CC in this character. This is a PvP focused character release, from what I can understand, with a PvP focused gym. And so my take on it is they just want to make a bunch of money off the gym and stuff, which is like, all right, that's fine. I mean, that's what the game is. I don't really have like any like super insightful things about the gym because you can just read it and you know what it is. Like it's a strong fucking gym and people are gonna well for it, and
I love how
that's how the
honest you
game
are, man.
works.
You're hilarious to listen to when you say stuff like that. But no, but you're
That's how the game works. I don't know how else to say it. Like it's a strong gym, boys.
but I'm happy to hear that you're saying everything. You keep on bringing up PvP, and they just opened up the new PvP element of the game and new ways to PvP inside of the game and new competitive things. So it seems that their focus is going in that direction. Hopefully there's more and more options for things as time goes on as well. As we close things out, give me your final outtake or your final impression of the Blood Knight. You give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, basically, at the end of the day. Not your experience, not the people, the class inside of the game.
I like the class better than I like a lot of the other classes.
Okay.
And it's probably like my second or third most favorite. But I only played it for like 4 hours, brother. So like I could be way off here. And like I said, I didn't get tested with all the powers and everything, and they said no sets or anything. But like there's a lot there to figure out. I think a lot of people are really gonna like it. I think we're gonna have some backlash from the gyms. We're having some backlash from the CC. The PvP side of it is obviously a focus. But at the same point, like we've been saying that they should focus more on the PvP for a while now, and maybe they're delivering that for the people that still play this game are probably playing it because of PvP. If you're playing a year later, like you're not just playing it because you want to farm the same circle over and over and over again. You're probably a hardcore PvP player. At least that's most of the people that I know that are still actively playing this game every day. So they're focusing on that. And I think the class in general, I think it's going to reside very well with those types of players because it seems designed for them. So I think for the most part, we're going to see backlash. But I also think the class is like pretty cool, to be honest. I mean, it's a lot more fun dynamically than some of the other classes. It's like you have like the demon hunter where you're pew, 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 the guns and all. But then the blood knight's like, you got the blood and you're jumping in and you got the blood waves and you can literally pick up minions and throw them and stuff. So like from just a thematic point of view and just like the most casual brain dead way I can explain it, the class is like pretty fun, man.
Oh.
So I think people are gonna like it.
I love that. And by the way, I've been playing for a year and I still love my circle of farming. And I use Barbarian with the Trail of Flames behind me that you crapped on earlier in this interview here.
I'm not crapping. This is the best farming build in the game, baby. I'm just saying it's why is the Barbarian leaving fire behind him? That's all I'm saying. But it's absolutely a great one. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I love it. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming through. It's always great to just get on and chat with you because you're a good time. Sorry I couldn't be at the trip with you. Hopefully there's another opportunity in the future so we can get our hug on. And yeah, I'm going to link your video because I think you also shared some other information inside of your video specifically about the Blood Knight in the description. Guys, make sure you go check it out. If you like what he does over there, subscribe and check out his Diablo 4 channel as well because I am not covering Diablo 4 in this channel and he is on his channel. So go check him out. Thanks for coming through, man.
All right, well, we'll have to actually meet up next time then. I hope you don't get stuck in the airport for 11 hours because I was bummed when you couldn't make it, brother. That was a good chunk of the reason I wanted to go.
Appreciate you, man. You're a good guy. You're a good friend.
All right, boys.